Hello everyone, okeanskiy here, and welcome to another video. Today we are improving upon one of the videos I posted about a month ago on head movement. Nothing wrong with the video, nothing wrong with the code, but we're going to be improving on it vastly in two ways, and that is firstly by making it work with both R15 and R6 Rigtypes. So this line of code that we put right here, it actually turns out this only works for R15 Rigtypes. If I go ahead and try to do it, if I convert my character to R6 like I have right here, it technically still does move the neck in a way that is proportional to the camera. It just needs a little bit of adjustment to make the head look right, because right now I'm kind of just stuck in a weird way. So the first thing we'll be doing is fixing this, making it work with R6 and R15, and then we'll be fixing, well, not fixing, but kind of adding another feature to this head movement script, and that's actually inserting a server script and allowing other players to also see where players are looking and move their heads as well. It will become server-sided in a way. All right, so first off, I'm going to go ahead and use humanoid.rigtype to figure out which rig type the player is. So inside of if neck then, oh, and by the way, this whole starting code will be in the description as a paste bin. So you don't have to watch the first, you can watch the first video if you want an explanation about how this all works. But just this starting code from where we left off in the first video on head movement, this will all be in the description in a paste bin where you can copy it or look at it, whatever you want to do with it. And the finished project will also be in the description for download, so you can look at that as well. But I'm just going to go ahead and start. Inside of this if statement, I'm going to go ahead and do if character.humanoid.rigtype is equal to enum.humanoid.rigtype.r15. Then we'll use our original line of code, which did a Y offset on the C frame, and then an angle for camera direction X and an angle for camera direction Y. And we're going to do else if character.humanoid.rigtype is equal to enum.humanoid.rigtype.r6. Now, this isn't really necessary to do else if, but just in case Roblox adds another rig type in a year or two, I'm just going to go ahead and put that there just in case. And now I'm actually going to go ahead and copy in a altered version of this line. This will also be in the description. It only took me a couple minutes to figure this one out, but I basically just played around with it until it worked. And what I did was I kept the Y offset because I was working just fine. But then what did I do? I kept Y. I just made camera direction.y inverse sine negative for inverse sine camera direction X. I just moved that from the Y component, and I moved that to the Z component. And then I also multiplied by another C-frame angles. I rotated 3 pi over 2 on the x-axis and pi radians on the z-axis. So there's just a little bit of additions just to fix it so it looks right. And again, that will be in the description, so you don't have to copy it from the video. You can just copy it from the description. I understand there's a lot of parentheses and stuff. So anyway, that's going to go ahead and get the first major bullet point out of the way, fixing it for R6. So if I go ahead and play this with my R6 rig type, I should be able to move it perfectly fine. and it looks pretty good. So I'm gonna go ahead and go back to my game settings, and just put it back to R15. Okay. Now let's go ahead and allow other players to see where other players are looking by making this server-sided. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is implement a remote event into replicated storage, and I'm going to go ahead and call this look. Alright, so what we're going to be doing is using this remote event, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a while loop. I'm going to do like while wait 2 or something. I'll get into what number you should put here in a second, but the point here is you just have to make a while loop, and then you just do game.replicatedStorage.look fire server, and then neck.cframe0. So every frame we're actually changing our next cframe0 value, but every 2 seconds we're also sending a message to the server over the network to tell us what our current neck.c0 value is. And then on the server, we're going to go ahead and pick that up. So let's go ahead and add a server script into server script service. And I'm going to pick up that message by doing game.replicatedStorage.look.onServerEvent connect function, and then player, because when you use onServerEvent you have to put a player so that you know which player it came from, and then the next cframe. And then what we're going to do is we're going to iterate. I'm going to do for key value in pairs, game.players, not game.players get children do. So that's going to get a table of all the children of the players, get a table of all our players, and where the value will be the player and the key will be an index. We won't be using that, but we'll be using the value, the player value. And we'll do if value is not equal to player, then, and actually what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and send a message back to every other client by doing fire client value, which is the player value, the player it came from, and the next cframe. So what we're doing here is iterating through all the players. We're going to do this one line of code for every single one of those players except for the player it came from. That's why I do if value is not equal to player. And we're going to send a message to each of those clients about the player it came from and that player's next cframe at that moment. And the reason why we have to do this is because if we tried to change anything on the server, if we tried to change any cframes on the server, it would actually mess up what the client sees on their own character. So we don't want to do that. We just want to tell every other player what to do on their clients based on whatever this client had. Alright, and that's it for the server script. So let's go ahead and go back to the local script, and now that we've sent a message, the server has received it and it sent a message back. We actually now have to have a receiver for that. So let's go ahead and do game.replicatedStorage.look, and now we're going to do onClientEvent. Here we did onServerEvent, here we do onClientEvent connect function. We're going to do for the player it came from. So this is the client we're firing to. This one gets dropped. We don't use that here. The player it came from, we're just going to do, just so that we don't confuse it with the player that we have up here, I'm going to call this other player, and for the other parameter, next frame, we'll just call it next frame. Okay. And then what we do is local neck is equal to other player dot character find first child neck true. So we're going to go ahead and try to find that neck inside that player's character. I'm going to use find first child. I'm going to put the string name as neck because it's named neck in both R15 and R16, but where it's positioned in the hierarchy of the objects actually is different, so that's why we have to put true here, so it searches the entire character and all the descendants of every single object. It doesn't just do the first layer of children, because it's actually different on R15 and R16. So if we did find the neck, we'll do if neck then I'm going to do neck.c0 is equal to next frame. So on this client, when it gets a message from the server that another player has moved their neck, it will adjust it on my client. So let's go ahead and run a test to make sure we did everything. Now we're not necessarily done yet, but I just want to test and show you guys what we have so far. Alright, so I've gone ahead and loaded up a 2-player test. So I've got 2 players in this game. I want you to look at the left side of the screen, and I'm going to move the player 1's head around. So I'm going to look straight up, and as you can see, the head moves straight up, and when I look straight down, the head moves straight down. Now, there is a little bit of a problem here. That is kind of laggy, or not necessarily laggy is the right word, but more like not smooth. So we're actually going to use Tween service to smoothen that out, but I just wanted to go ahead and make sure that we did everything correctly. And it's a good idea to do that sometimes. Alright, so instead of neck.co equals neck.cframe, I'm going to leave that line there for now, but we're going to remove it. I'm going to do I'm actually going to go ahead and go up to the top of the script, and I'm going to get the tween service. So local tween service equals game get service tween service, and you can put whatever here you want, obviously. Tween service, and I'm going to go ahead and use the create function. Now the tween service create takes 6 parameters. First one is the neck, or I'm sorry, the actual object that you're going to be tweening, which in our case is the neck. So I'm going to go ahead and put neck. And I said 6, but it actually only takes 3. The second one is tween info, so I'm going to do tweeninfo.new. I'm going to leave it blank for now. And the third one is the table of properties that you want to change, which in this case, I'm going to go ahead and make a new table by putting some curly braces. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy straight from here because it's the exact same thing. We're changing the CO property and we're setting it equal to next frame. And then we can go ahead and delete this line because it's no longer useful. So now we have our neck, the instance we want to tween, the table of properties that we want to change. Now we just need to put in some tween info to describe how we want our tween to look like. So I'm going to go ahead and do the first one is time. I'm going to do normally you want to do, probably in this case, I would say for the time of the tween, I would do whatever half whatever number you put here, because if it updates every 2 seconds, you should probably put it so that it tweens 1 full second. I'm actually going to go ahead and change our wait to 1 here, so that it fires more often and we get a smoother movement and more often update. If you increase this number, it will be less intensive on the network, but less smooth on what you see. And likewise, if you make this a smaller number, it will update more times, be more intensive on the network, but also be more smoother. So it kind of depends on how important you want the smoothness of the head movement to be. If it's really important that the players can see each other's heads move, you want to put this a low number, maybe even 0.5, but then that's kind of a little too low. 1 is good though. If it's not that important at all, you can do like 2 or 3 or even 5 seconds. But I'll leave this at 1. And then for the time on the tween, I'm going to put this as 0.5. For the easing style, I'm going to do enum.easingstyle.quad. Quad kind of starts off fast, but then eases off. Enum.easingDirection .out, obviously, because we're tweening out here. If you put it as in, it would start off slow and then kind of snap, and that would look kind of weird. And then for repeat count, put 0. Don't want any repeats. For reverses, right here it says bool reverses. We don't want it to reverse, so I'm gonna put false. And for delay time, I'm gonna put 0. I'm pretty sure those are default values anyway, so I'm not sure how necessary that is to put anyway. But now that we've got our neck, tween info, and table, at the end of this tween service create function, we can just go ahead and go to the end of it and just do :play like that, and then parentheses. So it's gonna get the tween service, call create, use our parameters to create something, create a tween, and then play that. That's how you do a tween in one line. Pretty simple. Alright, and then one more optimization that I want to do to lessen the amount of calls that you have to do on the network. If you have a lot of players, this could be really useful. I'm actually going to go ahead and add something to this if statement, and that's a magnitude check. So I'm going to do if v is not equal to player and something dot magnitude something dot magnitude is less than I'll put 10 for now, but I think 50 is a good number, but I'm just gonna put 10 just for demonstration purposes. And the magnitude that we're looking for is the distance between the the value dot character, the player that we're iterating through, that player's character dot head dot position, minus the player it came from, that character dot head dot position. So it's going to end up looking like this, and like that. And what this is going to say is, in addition to not firing back on the player it came from, let's also not fire on players that are more than X amount of studs away. So right here I have 10. Normally I would put probably 50, because past 50 studs away, there's no real point in updating clients that are that far away, because you can't really see their head anyway, and that's going to save a little bit of network and a little bit of an optimization there. But I'm going to put it at 10 to demonstrate. And now that we have our tween and we've got everything in place, I'm going to go ahead and do a second test, and we should be done. So let's go ahead and see what it looks like. Alright, now that I've got the second test up and the final test, I want you to look once again at the screen on the left and pay close attention to this player right here. I'm going to move his head, and he should... Oops, I'm actually more than 10 studs away. I was a little too far away. Okay, now that I'm close, as you can see, when I move the head on one client screen, the other client can see it. It looks pretty smooth to me. You can play around with the values to get different results and see what you want, but I think these values are pretty good. And then once again, if a player is too far away, let's say I put it to 10 just to demonstrate, but like 50 might be like over here. At 50 studs away, it's kind of hard to see the head, but as you can see, I'm moving the head and it's not updating at all. This client's not getting the message at all. That's just to save a little bit of network if you have players that are far away. Alright, that's it for this tutorial. I hope you guys learned something new. If you have any questions, feel free to comment anything or add me on Discord. I'll try to get to you when I can. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.